Silicon Valley Reads is an annual community program which encourages reading and discussion of selected books and the promotion of an appreciation of good literature. This program offers free events and activities for all ages throughout Santa Clara County. I'm Grace Trafton of The Better Part. Stay tuned and find out more about this very interesting program. We're very fortunate to have as our guest Dr. Mary Ann Dewan, who has served in education for over 30 years. Dr. Dewan joined the Santa Clara County Office of Education in 2013 and was appointed the Santa Clara County Superintendent of Schools in 2018. She's an educator who believes that all students deserve high-quality, equitable, and inclusive education. Welcome, Dr. Dewan.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
First, please tell us when and how did Silicon Valley Reads get started?
Silicon Valley Reads started in 2003, and it started initially as a partnership between the Santa Clara County Office of Education and the San Jose Public Library Foundation. In that first year, it was just a typical community reads program where an author was selected and there was a book and there was opportunity for the community to meet the author and talk about the book.
And what was it like in the early years and how has it evolved since then?
Well, in the early years, Silicon Valley Reads was a typical community reads program. In that way, we mean that the author was selected, a book title was provided, and all of the activities really focused on the book and the author.
And you and Nancy Howe, who is the Santa Clara County District Librarian, are co-chairs of the program this year. How did you happen to get involved?
Well, since Silicon Valley Reads has been a part of an initiative, Silicon Valley Reads has been an initiative of the County Office of Education since 2003, and the County Superintendent of Schools has always served as a co-chair of the initiative. And then in about 2005, the Santa Clara County Library Association also joined as a partner. And at that time, then the county librarian joined as a co-chair.
Oh, I see. So it actually started with the Office of Education.
It did, in partnership with the San Jose Public Library Foundation. So we actually have 3 presenting partners, including the San Jose Public Libraries.
Oh, I see. And what is the organization's mission and goals?
Our mission in Silicon Valley Reads is really to engage the community. We want to use books and themes and topics to inspire community to get together, to discuss things, to think and to read, and even encourage children and families to talk about topics and issues that might be relevant at the times.
And how is it different from other reading groups?
Well, we think that Silicon Valley Reads is very unique. It's very different than any other community reads program. One of the ways that Silicon Valley Reads is unique is that we address the needs of all ages. So we have activities and books and materials and opportunities for community engagement for children as young as kindergarten. And we serve, obviously, adults of all ages as well. Another way that our program is different is it's not just about the book. We really try to identify a provocative theme each year, and we encourage discussion and engaging others to think about perspectives that might be different than their own.
And I understand that you have a community advisory board. What is their function?
Well, we're very fortunate to have the support of a community advisory board. Their function is to help us identify the theme each year for Silicon Valley Reads. They also help connect us to partners in the community, including potential funders and places where we can have activities. They bring such rich, diverse perspectives to our work, and they really help us make sure that Silicon Valley Reads will be intriguing to the community at large. Our Community Advisory Board has about 30 members representing all segments of our community.
Oh, that many. Give me some example of some of the board members.
Some of our board members represent local libraries, some represent community colleges, local school districts, First Five of Santa Clara County, public agencies, and community-based organizations.
And how is Silicon Valley Reads funded?
Well, that's an interesting question and one that's very challenging for us. So there is no sustainable funding for Silicon Valley Reads. So each and every year we identify a budget and we go about fundraising. And we're very fortunate that because of Silicon Valley Reads' success, that we do have members of the community who are frequent and annual donors. So we're supported by individuals, by community-based organizations, philanthropic groups, as well as public agencies.
So you don't have any government funding per se?
We don't.
Oh, you don't? I didn't realize that.
Not for the Silicon Valley Reads initiative specifically. So yes, each year we bring the theme to the community and we encourage the community to join in and rally behind the program. And we do have some donors who have been with us each year over the time, such as First Five, obviously the County Office of Education in Santa Clara, and the Santa Clara County Libraries Association. But all of the other funding comes from donors.
Oh, is that right? I didn't realize that.
And we're so fortunate as well because of the generous support of our donors, both with financial contributions as well as in-kind contributions. We're able to offer the entire Silicon Valley Reads program for free to the community.
Oh, that is wonderful, because I know I really enjoy participating in those events. Now, do the non-county libraries actively participate in this program?
We do have quite a bit of participation from libraries throughout the county, including the county libraries that you mentioned, and the San Jose Public Libraries also participate. In addition, our schools participate. So the school libraries, as well as some of the teachers in our school districts throughout the county participate. I think another interesting thing to share about Silicon Valley Reads is that it's often intriguing to local book clubs. So in addition to the library support, a number of local book clubs select the Silicon Valley Reads book each year as a premier read for their group. And they host readings and other activities just organically through their normal book club activities.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Now, why was it decided to have an annual theme? You've mentioned the annual theme before, and how do you go about selecting a theme each year?
Well, we learned a few years ago that having a theme really helped engage a broader community, and that there were many ways to engage with a book. And if we kept the activities just narrow to a particular book, that it might be restrictive of the communication, civil discourse, or the types of activities that might be engaging to the community. And really, we learned this from our participants. So one particular year, we hosted some panel discussions and poetry readings, and the participants just raved about how engaging those activities were. And so we recognized that by building upon that, creating a theme and expanding the opportunity for engagement, that we would be able to serve the broader community.
And tell us about some of your favorite themes from previous years.
Well, I think every year has been fabulous, but I would like to point out a couple years that really stood out recently. One was the year that we had the theme, "And Justice for All." And this particular theme helped us have conversations about the criminal justice system in the United States and comparing that to what other countries do and really the roots of how our laws were created. And the community at large really found that to be interesting and engaging and created opportunities for dialogue about how we could have more humanity within our criminal justice system. And last year, our theme was about finding identity in family history. And it was quite an engaging year, certainly a crowd favorite as well. We had well over 9,000 community members participate in the activities related to that theme. And obviously, each of us have family histories, and with the advent of all of the DNA testing and the research that can be done today with technology, the community found that one to be very engaging.
I certainly did, because last year was the first time I had participated in any of the events, and I was just blown away with the speakers. It was so wonderful to hear them. And I thought your theme was very, very fascinating, because so many people nowadays are interested in their history, family history, and DNA. So you chose a very, very good theme this current year. So what is the theme for 2020, and why was that particular theme selected?
For the 2020 Silicon Valley Reads program, our theme is Women Making It Happen. And this theme was selected by the Community Advisory Group and the co-chairs of Silicon Valley Reads in recognition of the fact that 2020 is the 100th year anniversary of women's suffrage and women getting the right to vote in the United States of America. And so we wanted to honor that milestone, also recognize that we have future history to be made and that a lot has happened over the 100 years. So rather than just celebrating the women's suffrage, we wanted to understand the contributions and achievement of women past, current, and future.
And so tell us about the books that were selected.
So for this year, we have 2 adult selections for Silicon Valley Reads under our Women Making It Happen theme. The first book is a nonfiction book called Alpha Girls. And Alpha Girls tells the story of 4 women in Silicon Valley, 4 women in Silicon Valley who were venture capitalists. And as most people in the community would know, venture capitalists was typically a profession dominated by men. And so it tells the story of their lives personally and professionally in Silicon Valley and the accomplishments that they were able to achieve.
And how about the other book, The 10th Muse?
The 10th Muse is our fiction selection. It is a very charming novel about a female mathematician who sets on a quest to solve one of the world's most complex mathematical problems.
And could you tell us in a little bit more detail the events and activities you're planning?
Well, we're very excited about this year's host of activities. They will include panel discussions, engagement with the authors of our 2 theme books. We are also planning to have some movie and film opportunities, as well as some art exhibits and other creative opportunities for engagement around this theme of women's achievement.
So this will be held throughout Santa Clara County?
The events will have well over 100 events throughout Santa Clara County.
Over 100 events? My
Yes.
goodness.
And in addition, we'll also have our school program, and we always try to connect a children's companion book to the Silicon Valley Reads theme. And so this year, our children's companion books talk about women in history, and one of those is about Ada Lovelace, who was actually the very first computer programmer. And so we have a lovely children's book called Who Says Women Can't Be Computer Programmers? And so this tells the story, and Ada became a computer programmer before computers were ever invented. So we think this will be very engaging for our schools and for our young children readers. And I think we'll also spark some conversation with families. And another book from our companion book selections that I wanted to share is a current selection called The Most Magnificent Thing. And it's a lovely story about a young girl who has an idea, and she sets about creating her idea and making it real. And so she's taking on engineering activities and using tools and collaborating with her dog to create a new, innovative, magnificent thing. It's also a very engaging story, and there will be a lot of events associated with the companion books as well.
That sounds wonderful. It's good to have books showing girls that they don't have to stay in that stereotype.
I think that's really the hope of our theme this year, is that we can recognize that there are many professions, many opportunities, and many ways that women historically and in the future will contribute to our economy, to our community, and to our country's history.
Absolutely. I noticed you also brought a third book. Tell us about that.
Yes, our third children's companion book this year is about astronauts, and it's
Oh,
about women who wanted to become astronauts at the beginning of the NASA program. And although they really dared to lead and to try to become astronauts, they did not. They never made it into space, but they completely changed our community's perceptions about what women could do. And they were the foundation of how women became fighter pilots and were also able to fly in other places throughout the country.
oh, that's wonderful to hear.
Yes, women as pilots based on women astronauts who dared to become astronauts.
Now, do you think that social media has been impacting children's and teens' reading habits?
Well, we do believe that there is some impact from social media. For example, it seems that young people maybe think in shorter bites and little bits of information. And so it does somewhat impact, but I think there are some positive ways that social media has been able to bring things to children's attention. And we know that children throughout our schools and throughout the community are still reading books. They also like to read online. So they will find their books and materials and other curriculum and things online. So they're still reading, but it may be digital.
As long as they're reading, that's the important part, right?
Absolutely.
And how important do you think it is that the schools are participating in Silicon Valley Reads?
I think the fact that our schools participate in Silicon Valley Reads and that our school districts are partners in the implementation of Silicon Valley Reads is a unique component of our program. It allows us to have a program that meets the needs of all ages in our community. It organizes us around some themes so that children can talk to their families or their teachers. They can also attend events along with their parents in the community as well. So I think it's really important to have that educational component. And all of our themes lend themselves to some of the state standards. So children can learn about social studies and history and science, technology, engineering, and math as a part of the Silicon Valley Reads program.
Now, how does that work? Do they take a specific period of time in their classrooms devoted to Silicon Valley Reads?
Every school does something different. So in some of our school programs, they may use the Silicon Valley Reads selection as a part of a course curriculum, a lesson that the teacher is providing. In other situations, they may do it as part of a club activity or even a whole school. And on occasion, it is a part of the library program. So students will be able to check out the book, maybe engage in a book study with other young people. And so every school is able to create their own experience. Another opportunity that we provide is for the authors to visit the schools.
Oh, really?
And so the children get a chance to meet the authors of the children's books, and they get a chance to engage with the author and ask questions, not only about the books, but what it's like to be an author.
That is fantastic. I bet that's a very exciting experience for the children.
It is, and we get a lot of positive feedback from the teachers who are able to provide that programming.
Oh, wonderful. Now, do you have specific kickoff events, and are they by invitation only?
We will have a kickoff event in February this year, and we'll be sure to advertise the date. It is open to the public, so it is not an invitation-only event. It is an invitation to the community at large. At the kickoff event, we'll have one of our authors present, and we'll kick off the year celebrating women making it happen.
Oh, that sounds very exciting. Now, you started in 2003, so what were the books that kicked off your program?
In 2003, it was our very first year, and the book that kicked off our program was called Breaking Through. and it was a memoir written by Sergio Jimenez, who was a Santa Clara University professor. And that very first year, we only held 12 events, and it was very focused on the book and the author. It was a wonderful kickoff to the program, but we've certainly grown a lot over the last 15 years.
I bet you have. So, throughout the years, what were some of your most favorite authors and events and themes?
Well, I think one of the most popular events we've had was the panel discussion during the year we had Finding Identity and Family History. So the Markula Center on Ethics held a panel discussion, and that discussion was really well attended, and it was quite interesting given all of the ethical questions around DNA testing and if you find a lost relative, what are the ethics around reaching out and connecting to that person? So that event was very well attended, it was very popular, and definitely connected very tightly to our theme that year. One of our most popular authors was Dan Masimoto, and his book was called Epitaph for a Peach. And he was so engaging with the community, and that event was very popular, and still to this day is one of the authors that our participants rave about.
What an interesting title.
Yes, it was. And I think that it's also been very interesting to hear from some of our participants about the year that our theme was in defense of food.
Oh.
And for that particular year, there were a lot of community activities engaged around food and gardening and food preparation and things of that nature. And so that year was very popular, not necessarily just because of the book, but because of the wide variety of interest in foods. That year as well, we had a session that was on tea preparation that the community found to be very interesting and engaging. It was quite popular.
Was this like a Japanese tea ceremony?
Yes, like different tea ceremonies and different traditions and histories around the preparation of tea. And community members learned about how some teas need different temperatures in order to taste right and not be bitter.
I'm so sorry I missed your food year because that's one of my favorite topics, of course. Did you have also food demonstrations?
There were food demonstrations and some tips about gardening, and just a lot to learn about how food should be safely handled and safely prepared, and the importance of nutrition.
Now, you've told us a little bit about your goals and aspirations for the program. Could you expand on that for us?
I think our goals for Silicon Valley Reads are so much more than just reading. And sometimes that's lost in our title. We think Silicon Valley Reads, it must be all about the books.
Right.
But really, Silicon Valley Reads is about community engagement and how we can engage our community, get people out of their homes, together in community, learning and talking, thinking and discussing about different topics. It's also a way to try to pull the thread across the entire community around topics of interest, and maybe that could be challenging. And it helps us understand different perspectives that each of us bring. Silicon Valley is a very diverse community, and Silicon Valley Reads helps us understand the different perspectives that each of us have, our different experiences that we've had, and allows us to contribute to and celebrate the richness of our community. I think another goal is for us to model for the community how different agencies can work together and stay together over a long period of time. Silicon Valley Reads started as an organization sponsored by the Santa Clara County Office of Education and the San Jose Public Library. A few years later, the Santa Clara County Libraries joined us in that effort, and we've been together ever since. So 3 agencies, even though time has changed and the Valley has changed over this time, we've stuck together to support this community engagement activity. I think that's a major milestone and a great success for our community to celebrate.
That's absolutely an admirable goal to have. And do you have anything in the way of special programs to reach the underserved populations?
We've been making a concerted effort to reach underserved populations throughout the county. One of the ways that we do that is by hosting events throughout the county. And many of those events are in our public libraries, which are in the neighborhoods and communities where our children and families and others live. So they're very accessible to the communities. And I think as a result of the support of each of my co-chairs, including Nancy Howe at the Santa Clara County Library District and Jill Bourne at the San Jose Public Library, we promote accessibility by having a rich diversity of activities. So some of those include where the books are read aloud at story time at the library.
Oh, that's a good
that
idea.
there are things accessible for computer access, and that there's free computer time available at the libraries, and that there are extra copies of the books and materials available at the library, and they do a great job of also connecting supplemental materials to help increase the accessibility.
Now, how do you go about determining if Silicon Valley Reads is successful and having an impact in the community? How do you measure that?
Silicon Valley is a data-driven community, so we always go to look at the data about our program each year. At the end of every event, we conduct a survey, and that survey is asked of the participants to tell us about the success of the program they participated in. And what we've learned from those surveys over the years is that every year we have well over 9,000 participants throughout the county. Over 97% of them rate the programs as excellent or very good. And 93% tell us that their experience with Silicon Valley Reads changed their perspective.
Oh, really?
And over 95% tell us that they learned something new as a result of the program. So we think those are great indicators of success.
They are. That's very, very good statistics. Now, what can people do if they want more information on this program?
Silicon Valley Reads has a website at siliconvalleyreads.org. So we encourage everyone to take a look at our website. We'll post our whole host of programs there so you can find them. And every year we'll also print a booklet, so that's available throughout the community for those who prefer to use the booklet instead of the website. You can also follow us on Facebook.
Ah, very good. We'll make sure that we do that. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Dr. Dewan.
Thank you, Grace. It's been a pleasure.
I had a wonderful time attending some of this year's Silicon Valley Reads events, and I'm really looking forward to next year's activities. And I hope you are too. Thank you so much for being with us today, and remember to also watch us on YouTube and Roku. See you next time on The Better Part. Bye-bye.